Hey guys, this is CallanLoF with another Mock Advice episode, and this is a special Bio Cup edition. I didn't really talk about this on my channel, but I entered a contest on Flickr called the Bio Cup. It was something they had held them on Mock pages years ago, and they brought it back last year, and I totally missed it last year. So I thought I would have some fun into it this year, and I hope that this doesn't come across too much like I'm just kind of complaining about some of the judges' decisions. But basically, I'm just going to be showing, like, doing a lot of my standard little suggestions and tips throughout while talking about the mocks themselves and what the judges kind of made of them and the things I disagreed with and the things that, you can kind of look to, because obviously there's a method to these things. It's an art contest. There's never going to be a solid answer about which one is exactly better in every single way. There's always going to be aspect of one mock that you enter that's going to be better than the other one, and then other things, and ultimately each judge has to lay out what they like best about each one. So I'm just going to be kind of getting into the reasons why I only made it a round in. I passed the eliminatories, but it was a fun experience, and I was really happy with the final product I was able to make, even for the first round, which is not the best one. But let's talk a little bit about this one first. So this was my eliminatory thing. The round theme was elements, so basically they just wanted you to get into just do something based off of the elements, like, earth, air, wind, fire. You get it. I'm getting a little stupid there, but it basically, so I just thought it would be fun to, I was going to do like a multi-theme thing, like across the board, fire, ice, water, air thing, all four kind of thing. But instead, just this robot kind of came out, and I thought just doing a fire and ice thing would be fun. And just being able to play with some pieces that I had never historically had, these ones. And this wobbles a lot. This wasn't how it was initially. I changed a piece on the back, and that was for this contest, this entry, because I used a bunch of pieces. So that's why this wobbles, and it's not as secure. It's not a great entry. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I want to keep this succinct. But yeah, basically, if you have excess parts, try and see what you can do with them. That's my policy that I did with this foot. It's kind of weird and random with all these strack shoulders, but it was kind of fun to play with the fact that through different orders and things on Bricklink, basically, and eBay, I'd gotten a couple different strack pieces, so I thought it would be fun to actually utilize them. Same with the arms here. The arms probably the weakest part as far as really accomplishing what I wanted to, because I wanted to get like a good clean use of this piece, and I was actually pretty happy with some of the things I was able to implement, like these Stormtrooper jetpacks from Star Wars sets ended up making kind of cool claws. So I would definitely recommend playing around with whatever pieces you have from any theme, because Star Wars often brings in a lot of interesting textures, and I was able to get a kind of cool look with the hand there. But yeah, ultimately the judges thought this was kind of basic. The theme was kind of a basic attempt on the theme, and I thought they had some relatively inconsistent terms as far as how they judged things. I thought there were other entries that had more basic attempts on elements, but I can understand the criticism. And ultimately this didn't score incredibly high. And the main lesson I learned with this one was go big or go home, even with the first entry, because they ended up judging all the people who passed in ranking them in gold, silver, and bronze tiers. And because I had a lower score, I ended up in the bronze tier. Ultimately didn't make a big difference, because I feel like the bracket I was put in was a handy one, but one I could have beaten, and one I think I did a pretty good job matching up against, but it didn't work out. They ultimately judged that I lost the following round, and that's what I'm going to get into now. But yeah, basically main advice with this one, just go for this one is more of a lesson of sometimes just doing something that comes off your mind will work out okay. This isn't the greatest thing I've ever made, but it came out pretty quickly within a few hours, and I'm pretty happy with it overall, even if it wasn't the most creative thing I could have done. And I was able to play around with some fun things with the head, so that was kind of fun too. But yeah, oh gosh, this is all blurry. So let's get into the round one entry, which was against a guy named Erebos and another guy named Johan Dakits. That guy was actually a judge in the old Bio Cup, so I thought it would be a fun challenge to see if I could beat a judge of old And ironically, he was one of the people who sided against me in one of them. I don't know why I'm getting into all this. But basically, it was just a fun challenge to see if I could take on a guy who had judged me previously. And I ultimately did not win. But I put up a good fight. And I even got 2 out of the 6 votes from the judges. So this... I'm not going to get all into that. But basically, my whole goal was to play around with it was like a Lego theme. They wanted you to they wanted you to do one Lego theme and kind of mesh it, fuse it with Bionicle. The word was fusion. My assigned theme was Atlantis, and I thought for the fusion aspect I would take it literally and actually try and fuse a lot of different elements with the Atlantis and Bionicle particularly. So I designed this kind of weird. You might wonder, why the heck are the arms inconsistently like this? And I'm going to flash on the screen here. The whole gimmick was around these 2 subs. That's why I made 2 of them that look pretty similar. And this thing here, as you can see, it's kind of funky looking, and it looks kind of and doesn't look amazing on its own, but it makes the 3 virtues shape. And so I'm going to flash that on the screen here. And that was my whole gimmick. My other gimmick was the idea that this created a portal, like in one of the Lego sets, where the portal, I don't know exactly what it did, but there was a portal that they made with an Atlantis set, and my gimmick here was the portal allowed Mantax from the Bionicle universe to come through, and so he and the Manta Warrior conspired together. It was just a bunch of silly stuff, some fun gimmicks to pull it together, and I think what ended up making me lose this was it was a bit too complicated. My opponent ended up just doing a simple creature that looked pretty cool, and then a diver and like a skull on the ground. So that was a good encapsulation of the theme as it basically is. I tried doing a more unique thing by implementing specific Bionicle themes, and overall I think it was a pretty fun idea. I was trying to think out of the box with that one because the judges told me that I didn't do something as clever with this one. So I wanted to try and mix it up and do something a bit more clever. And it didn't really work out, as I said. But ultimately my opponent did a really cool entry, and I can't fault him for that. And I can't fault the judges for that. So as far as basically the main lesson as far as that goes, because I'm really proud of these and I thought I was able to do some good things. Main criticism I had for myself was the way these pieces came out. It's not the smoothest looking. Also, another thing that I really should have been smarter about is actually showing off all the parts of the mock. I mean, I don't think this would have made the difference between the judges, but as a part of this thing, I kind of worked a Krana in at the bottom to make like a cool texture. And I didn't even photograph that right when I took the pictures and sent them in. So they just saw this side. They didn't even see the Krana. So that was very foolish of me. Make sure that you photograph your figures well. Presentation, basically, if you're wanting to pass, the big things are presentation and striking images, is what I learned. Because while my striking image of the 3 virtues, which I'll show again, while I think that was a striking image that got me a lot of points with the judges, I think that ultimately the presentation of having a bunch of different things, multiple figures, 4 different main things, and then a couple minifigures added in to the main pictures as well, I think that complicated the judges' thoughts on what they were actually judging. So they were more prone to enjoy just the 3 things that Johan had with his entry, which were good, and just the 3 things of the diver, the creature, and the little... what I represented here, the little bit of undersea seaweed stuff. Because, yeah, I had four different things going on here, and the presentation was weird. I had, like, him coming out of the portal in the main picture, and so they were probably questioning, are we judging the portal as well? Are we just judging the main image? So ultimately, I think that kind of weakened my what I was actually presenting. And I actually think I have that backed up as well, because I saw in the next round they had the round 2 come up, and they had they did a holiday theme there, and they had a really good composition between the 4th of July as a holiday, and someone did all this detailed stuff. It was kind of an interesting critique of America. You had all these different things, And then there was someone who went up against him who just did this really good looking bald eagle with red, yellow, and blue and white. Just like the 4 colors to really make it look like an eagle and make it look American. Had a really striking image. It didn't even look as good from the other angles. It still looked good, but it didn't look as good from the other angles. But because it had that striking image and it was the one figure, that ended up passing more than all the stuff that other guy did. So at least as far as the judges who judged this year goes, I think they valued the simplicity and just really what you could make, and they could, and also nice parts usage. I had some nice parts usage here, so I was proud of that. But and I don't think that's the thing. I don't think Johan had a ton of interesting parts usage. He did some good stuff. The helmet he did on his diver was really good, and so I think the helmet and his creature's really good looking design ultimately won it over. Honestly, a lot of this has been speculation, so I apologize for that. This has been a bit more of a mock talks, but ultimately I don't want to get too bogged down into mock talk stuff here. I want to talk about the mock advice, and more or less I'm talking about what I've learned from the contest as a whole with the mock advice here. So the mock advice here more applies to what I've learned in a contest scenario as opposed to just making a mock in general. So hopefully some of those things have been interesting. As far as the mocks themselves go, I kept some things kind of basic because I was trying to capture the image. I kept this in basic, because I was trying to get the proper shape of the Unity, Duty, Destiny side things. And but hey, as far as nice parts usage go, again, also if you're going to do nice parts usage, just as a general rule, make sure it's like something that people can actually tell. Because I worked really hard to build both these vehicles around Furno 1.0 chess pieces, and it was complicated, and this thing's pretty fragile as a result. But it doesn't really make that much of a difference because all the shaping of the Furno piece doesn't really affect the shaping of this. I ended up accomplishing a lot of the shape for the Unity Duty Destiny shape with other pieces built around it. So it doesn't make this as impressive. It does make this kind of messy. So yeah, ultimately, there are definitely problems, and I can see why I didn't win. But I think that ultimately I had a very creative idea for this thing, and so I was proud of what I was able to come up with. This piece also breaks off, which is annoying. But yeah, there were some little cons that they got into, and ultimately the judges they were on a time crunch. They judged them all within a day. So I'm not saying that had to do with the verdict, but basically they ultimately decided not to go with my entry, and I can respect that because they're all very talented, and don't get too bogged down in these things. These contests are supposed to be fun. Ultimately, I'd given my best shot, and I'd learned a couple things. So hopefully this video has been kind of informative, and I know it's been a lot of rambling. But hopefully you enjoyed all the stuff I talked about, and hopefully this has kind of inspired you with some of your own ideas and some advice that you can use in your own mock building. So thank you for watching. This has been a long one. Sorry about that. This is CallanLoF. I got a lot of other videos coming soon. I've been working a lot on Undercover, so that episode should come out within the next month or so. So get hyped, everybody, or don't, because this channel's bad. But thank you for watching. Love you. Bye.